hundreds more in emergency shelters or transitional housing.
All of this as a new mayor gets ready to take over. And this weekend, Ted Wheeler took a trip to San Antonio to take a closer look at how that city tackled a similar problem years ago.
We have team coverage on this tonight. Dave Northfield looks at how the homeless crisis is affecting yet another Portland neighborhood. But we begin with Maggie Vespa, the only Portland reporter to go along on that trip to Texas. And Maggie, it all came down to 3 words: Haven for Hope.
Joe, that's right. As you know, Haven for Hope is a 22-acre homeless campus. It's also the inspiration for what developers want to build at Terminal 1 here in industrial Northwest Portland. That said, that idea was pitched to our current mayor and council. Now, Mayor-elect Ted Wheeler is preparing to take the helm, so he took a trip.
It's a city known for its history, its culture, and its ability to help tourists remember the struggles that came before us. But 6 years ago, San Antonio, Texas built another reputation for itself by building a 22-acre comprehensive site dedicated to tackling homelessness in a way the country had never seen. And now, everyone wants to.
We constantly entertain guests and give tours.
Haven for Hope combines emergency shelters with long-term low-income housing, social and psychiatric services. People here have access to medical, dental, and vision care all on this site. There's even a pet kennel. 1,700 of San Antonio's homeless now call this place home.
They say most people are really a couple of paychecks from being homeless anyways.
Converted into a psychiatric clinic.
And Saturday morning, directors gave a tour to Portland City Commissioner Steve Novick and Mayor-elect Ted Wheeler.
If you walk through the streets of San Antonio, you don't see a lot of people who are homeless living under bridges, in bushes. Now the question is, what model works best to get people off the street and help keep them off the street?
Off the bat, they threw out a laundry list of questions. Among the first, funding.
I was really interested to see that about half the operational budget of Haven for Hope comes from private donors. And it wouldn't work without that.
That's true. Running Haven for Hope costs $16.1 million per year. 45% of that comes from a combination of local, state, and federal funds. But the rest comes from private donors and community partners. A similar story when Haven was built. Another topic, the site itself. It's large and in the middle of a lower-income neighborhood near downtown San Antonio, a contrast to Portland's smaller, more industrial counterpart.
Terminal 1 is a debate about a location. And so you have some people saying, yes, use it for homeless services. You have other people saying, no, use it for job creation. I think the debate should be, what do we want it to be before we talk about where we locate it?
To that point, leaders discussed criticism of what this is. Haven is not without controversy. Local headlines cite neighbors reporting theft, erratic behavior, people exposing themselves in public. There's also the question of the strategy overall. The federal stance on addressing homelessness is housing first, meaning give people a home, then treat issues like mental health or addiction. CEO Kenny Wilson says Haven for Hope sometimes places people in housing first, and for some, he agrees, it's better.
We hear others that we've put in an apartment or a house, and they feel isolated and lonely and depressed and miss a sense of community that they find here. So we don't disagree with housing first. We do it, but we think there's other needs as well.
Finally, Portland leaders asked, how do police in San Antonio treat the homeless living outside Haven? Do they force them to come here? The answer? No. Most come on their own, especially to the courtyard. People can come and go as they please, 24/7, as long as they're not acting dangerously.
You might have noticed this area looks pretty sparse right now. We're told at night it gets pretty packed. That said, either way, we're not showing you any faces. We're keeping this shot really tight. That's because pretty much everyone here is protected under HIPAA laws, meaning they have a medical issue and a right to privacy. In this case, those issues are pretty much addiction and mental illness.
The same issues common among Portland's homeless population, a crisis that will soon fall under new leadership. Mayor-elect Ted Wheeler says he's spending all of his time preparing.
There's certain things I know. I know I don't like the tent camping policy. I know that I don't think it's humane or appropriate in our community for people to be living in doorways and on the streets. I believe this model that we looked at here today in San Antonio clearly illustrates some of the gaps that we have in Portland that contribute to our very visible homeless situation.
Yeah, Fascinating weekend. So the question tonight, would it work here? Both Novick and Wheeler summed up their initial reactions by saying basically parts of it could. That said, city council members already voted to lease Terminal 1 for at least short-term use as an emergency shelter, and the goal was to have that portion of it open by this month. Obviously, that process has now stalled. Guys, back to you.